What's up, everybody, and welcome into the H&M Trucking Podcast, episode 60, with me, your host, Marcus. Thank you so much for being here today. Don't forget to click that subscribe button on whatever platform you listen to. I know you hear that from me a lot, and you're probably sick of it by now, but if you haven't clicked it yet, you're the person I'm talking to, and all the rest of them that also haven't clicked it. It helps us out a lot, doesn't cost you anything, it's one click, and it'll let you know every single time that we pump out a new episode, 5 a.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesdays. Also, I haven't heard of very many of you going up to Eve and Sherry and saying, "Stay fresh, cheese bags." You'll get a really sweet gift, okay? And I know that some of you have probably already heard through the grapevine what that gift is, but pretend you don't know until you see it, because it's a really awesome thing. And, I talked to Eve this morning, and she was like, listen, I've had a couple people, but one guy even tried to get away with it by not saying the catchphrase. You got to listen to this podcast if you want the gift from the podcast. So remember that. All you have to do is walk up to Eve or Sherry and say, "Stay fresh, cheese bags," and they will hook you up. Stay fresh, cheese bags. I mean, you can walk up and say it to James Fonda, too. Say it to Dale. Dale listens to the podcast. I know if you said that to Dale Cook, he'd know exactly what you're talking about. He's not going to hook you up with a gift, but he will get the reference. So all I'm saying here is if you want free stuff, you got to say the catchphrase. You got to listen to the podcast to know who to say it to, and then go say it. It's that simple. Get yourself some free swag. That's what I'll call it. And this swag will actually give you swagger. Like this, there's some kinds of swag that you get that's just like, oh, they handed me a keychain. If I put this on my keys or like hang it off my belt, nobody's going to talk to me in public. This thing that we're giving you is a swag item. As Michael Scott put it in The Office, swag, short for stuff we all get. This swag will actually give you swagger when you're out in public. You'll walk a little bit differently. You'll talk a little bit more confident. The girls and the guys will all be checking you out at Love's. I mean, who doesn't want to get checked out at a Love's? I can help you. All you got to do is go talk to Eve and Sherry. Say, "Stay fresh, cheese bags." Get your free gift. All right, on to the important stuff. We've got some new drivers to tell you about this week. Everybody give a nice party horn. H&M Trucking Podcast welcome to Cody Gordon. He's a hopper OTR driver out of Detroit, Michigan. Welcome, Cody. Dylan Scott Ford. He's a hopper OTR driver out of Wilston, North Dakota, and he's on his second trip to H&M as a driver. Welcome back, sir. You get two horns on that one because it's his second trip through the staff. So congratulations for coming back to the best company ever. Ira Johnson, van OTR driver from Carlton, Iowa. I think I butchered that. I actually think there's a typo in my email, and I'm not familiar enough with Iowa to know if it's Carlton or Carlton. I don't know. Sorry, Ira, but let me know. Come on the podcast. Educate me on this stuff. Trust me, it's fun. Roger Greer, van OTR driver from Haynesville, Louisiana. Welcome to the party to all of you. Glad to have you here. If you'd like to be on the H&M Trucking Podcast, or you have something that you would like to hear as a new driver, we're always interested in listening to what's going on out there, seeing how you're adapting to the job, making sure that you have all the answers you need to all the questions. So, we had H&M driver Rico Gibbs on the air a while back after he was just a couple months in with H&M. And we got him on with a veteran driver, answered a bunch of his questions. It was a great interview. Be happy to do another one of those with you guys. So if any of you that I just welcomed or any of the rest of you that I've welcomed in the recent past are interested, it's pretty simple. When you're going up to Eve or Sherry to say, "Stay fresh, cheese bags," just let them know that you want to be on the show. Or maybe you just got through recruiting. You can let the recruiters know. Sherry's there, so she can tell me. It's pretty simple. Just tell somebody in the office, tell your dispatcher, tell your driver manager. Those people can help get the message to me. But we'd love to have you on, love to hear from new drivers, and that's why we're always welcoming them here on the H&M Trucking Podcast. So welcome to the party. And an eagle screech for you just because, freedom. All right, what are we even doing here today? I haven't even talked about what we're going to talk about on this episode, and I'm very excited about it because school's out, kids. That's right. At least it's getting out. I know that there are some graduations happening as early as this weekend. Memorial Day weekend is typically when you can start guaranteeing a graduation every weekend for 3 or 4 weeks. And that means that kids are out. You guys remember this little sounder from last year?
Death of a 14-year-old Ryan Hoob, who was killed while riding his bike on Friday. The initial findings in the investigation say Hoob was hit by the trailer of a semi-truck as it was turning.
A 6-year-old boy has died after being hit by a semi-truck. Police tell us the child was standing on the corner when the back of it went onto the curb and hit the child.
Looking at the mirror all the time. I know what's going on 30 seconds ago and 2 seconds ago.
I heard sirens, but you don't think, and then when we turned around, my son pointed out, that's Kevin's bike.
Kevin Pope couldn't be saved after he was struck by a semi-truck at the busy corner of Weatherby and Landstar. He was just 10 years old.
A child dies on the way to school, hit and killed by a semi-truck.
Pretty ominous, huh? You remember Emo Marcus? Well, he might have to come back because we're going to have kind of a Tale of Two Cities podcast today. We are going to talk about safety in the summer, okay? Bicycles, motorcycles, kids out playing. You've got RVs, you've got boats, you've got a ton of people on the road trying to get to where they're going. And so we are bringing in 3 members from the safety team. It's going to be a very complex conversation today, and I'm looking forward to it because I was talking to Dean about this. I think it's just always a good idea this time of year to have this conversation, refresh some of the things you should be looking at, and of course, play that sounder there that I just played for you because it really does drive the point home. That accelerating heartbeat in the background always gets me. But we're going to talk to Dean Edmunds, we're going to talk to Cynthee Crawford, and we're also going to talk to Shelly Bridger today from safety, and we're going to get real safe about it and tell you guys all the things you should be looking for and maybe get some anecdotes and some tips and tricks from them on some different things that you can remember during the summer. And then we're going to switch gears completely because that is a very serious conversation. It needs to happen. But there's another conversation that needs to happen on this episode today, and that is my conversation with a couple of the ladies out of the recruiting department. We're going to get our very own Shelly Vogler back on this episode. It's been a little bit since we've heard from Shelly, and I'm super excited because I always have a great time with her on the air. And she is going to be joined by fellow recruiter Michaela Monjaraz, and it's going to be fun. We've got some games we're going to play with them. I'm going to be 100% honest with you right off the bat. We barely talk about work in that conversation with Michaela and Shelly. It's a lot of fun. It's mostly laughing. We're playing games. We're kind of getting the feel of what the recruiting department is like, and that's why I wanted to have them on the air. They are the most fun-loving group. There's always laughter coming from the recruiting department. But they will also tell you if you're screwing up or if it ain't the way that it should be. And that's why I want to bring them in. Gonna have a great talk towards the end of the episode with Shelly Vogler and Michaela Monjaraz from recruiting at H&M Trucking. So make sure you stay tuned for that. All right. Been babbling for like 9 minutes and it feels like I just got here. So let's go ahead and kick this thing into high gear. We will get on with the safety department. Right now, it's the H&M Trucking Podcast, episode 60. Glad to have you. Let's get moving.
From Omaha, Nebraska, to whatever lane you're driving, this is the H&M Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
Time to get down to brass tacks with the safety team here today, and I don't want it to sound that serious right off the top, Denny, because we've got a very fun group of people in here with us. We've been laughing and joking and giggling in here for the last 10 minutes before we were even able to get the meeting off the ground, so super excited to be joined here today by the safety team, and I mean the whole safety team at H&M Trucking. Starting off with safety manager Dean Edmunds. Dean, welcome back to the show, my friend. Always good to have you.
Well, thank you. I'm excited for this. It's fun to have all of us together and just to share some insights and some fun stories, maybe.
Absolutely, and happy to have you here. We've also got safety specialist Shelly Bridger back on the show, and she thought I wasn't going to remember her. Shelly, come on now. I'm going to remember you forever.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're going to remember me. Hello. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, you're welcome.
We also have claims specialist Destinee Andrews back on the show with us. Destinee, we appreciate the time. Thanks for coming back.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
And joining us for her first podcast appearance is somebody that I understand has a little bit of broadcasting experience herself. It's safety specialist Cynthee Crawford. Cynthee, thank you very much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Tell Denny and I about the broadcast experience real quick. I mean, we're both former broadcasters, and I guess you could argue that I'm still a broadcaster today, and so is Denny. But what did you do? Did you get in the industry for a little while, knock around, and decide it wasn't for you?
I grew up with it. My dad was a radio announcer here, actually in Omaha, Lincoln, and then we moved to California. So it's just kind of in my blood, and I just went on to school for it. But I ended up actually becoming, through the years, owning a newspaper for 20 some years with my husband. And then I became a paramedic firefighter. And then I moved on to trucking safety.
Wow.
So
a lot of experience out there in the world.
I'm a joker of all things and master of none of them. So
That's all right. That's all right. Well, we're glad to have you here. This is your first podcast appearance, and I hope that there will be many more in the future. Safety is a very important aspect of a lot of things that we talk about here on the H&M Trucking Podcast. And, it's time to kind of think about school getting out for summer. I was talking to Eve just a couple days ago. I know she's headed to a graduation this weekend, and that's typically the first one. And from Memorial Day on for the next few weeks, kids are going to be graduating. School's going to let out. Motorcycles, bicycles, boats, RVs, every manner of recreational vehicle is going to be out on the road. And so we just thought it would be a good idea to bring you guys in here and kind of refresh some of the safety aspects of spring turning into summer. So, Dean, you've created a fantastic document here with a bunch of talking points, and I'm not going to jump in your way here. I'm going to let you start us off on some of the most important things for drivers to remember as spring turns to summer and everybody starts to go outside to play.
Sure. With the extreme weather, you have to always keep your eyes open, keep an eye on the forecast. We here in Omaha have recently had our rounds with tornadoes and torrential rains. These are all things you need to keep an eye on the forecast. Make sure that you're planning your trips and making sure you're avoiding these bad weather areas. And one thing that I would like to add is, as a kid, I always remember, traveling from Nebraska to Kansas City to go to Worlds of Fun for a family vacation. And I seem to always, the one thing that I remember from every trip was the amount of tire carcasses along I-29 between Omaha and Kansas. So once I'm now into trucking, I remember all of those now. And now I'm in safety, I remember even more. And I want to just share with drivers to, make sure they're checking their air pressures, they're doing their things. Tire blowouts can be extremely dangerous, and it can definitely cause long delays in getting to your destination.
Absolutely. Now, Denny, there's something that Dean touched on there that I want to hear from a former driver about, and that is the torrential rain. We know about the tornadoes. We know about snow and ice. Those are the things that we hear about a lot. High winds, of course, but torrential rain, for a guy that grew up in the Pacific Northwest, it's nothing new to me, but I'm sure when you guys get nothing out there in the Midwest and then all of a sudden it's raining cats and dogs for a few hours, road conditions change. There's standing water on the road. There's all that dust that gets blown around. How did you approach it when you knew you were headed headlong into a torrential rainstorm like that, Denny?
Well, sometimes you just can't avoid it. If you plan ahead and you know it's coming, sometimes you can, either
push harder the day before and get past where the storm line's going to be, or wait it out. But eventually you're going to get caught in them. And I say, besides just being safe and being a good driver, the biggest threat on the road is the four-wheelers, because they'll, instead of getting off the road, if they're scared, they'll line up 4 abreast and go 35 miles an hour, and they think the magic tool is turning on their four-ways. No, if you want to go 30 miles an hour in a 70 mile an hour zone, move over. That's the biggest thing I could say. Also, you're going to push through the storm front. I mean, if there's a storm coming through, there's actually 2 sides of it. You're going to hit heavy rain at the beginning of it, or one end of it, and heavy rain at the other end of it, where the climate is actually changing. And knowing that, you can plan ahead and expect it. That might be the perfect time to take your 30-minute break. You see that storm's coming, pull in, fuel up, go to the bathroom, take your 30-minute break, boom, storm's gone past you. You've accomplished 2 things at the same time. But sometimes, it's inevitable. You're going to get caught in them, and you just have to be careful.
Yep, you really do. And I mean, they can hit in a moment's notice. I was talking to somebody on the phone in Omaha just a couple days ago, and it all of a sudden sounded like somebody was throwing like sand or pebbles at their car. And it was just a rainstorm that just started. There was no rain, and then all of a sudden there was all the rain. That type of stuff can really affect road conditions. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're planning your trip and kind of look out ahead of you. There's something here at the very top that I wanted to touch on as well of your document, Dean. And Cynthee, you actually, when we were emailing earlier this week setting up for this was something that you brought up, and it's honestly one that I hadn't even thought of. So I think it's important that we hit it because it's very important. Can you talk to me a little bit about the importance of staying hydrated out there on the road, Cynthee?
Absolutely. My past life where I was an EMT, I've dealt with people who went through heat strokes, and it would have been prevented had they just kept hydrating and not talking alcohol or caffeine even. You just use water, sip it, use Gatorade, any sort of sports drinks, even juice. I know a lot of people have problems with water so plain, but, as long as it's non-caffeinated and it's non-alcoholic, it's going to be okay. But yeah, I've seen people drop, and it's scary to have to pick them up and get them to the hospital and hope they make it just because they didn't drink water like they were supposed to.
Yep. No, I was in Southern California for a concert back in 2022 outside in October. So 70, 80 degrees, hot, but not excruciating. And we're standing there watching a show, and I hear something behind me, and it just sounds like this crack. And I turn around, and there's a guy laying flat on his back behind me, and the crack was the back of his head hitting the concrete when he passed out. And it's really scary. If you think about that from the viewpoint of a truck driver, you're dehydrated and you go to step out of the truck and you get lightheaded, you're going down, and it's a long way down. If you're working with your load, you're getting up on elevated surfaces. You don't want that dehydration to creep in and knock you out. And it's quick. You won't notice it until it happens. If you've ever passed out from heat stroke like that before, it's very scary. And we can't have our drivers out there coming even close to that. So very important to stay hydrated.
Also, when they're driving, it can happen. So just make sure. And another thing, if you're not going to the restroom enough, you don't feel like it, you're not drinking enough. So that's something to I know it's kind of a disturbing thing to think about, but it's true. If you're hydrated, you're going to go to the restroom. So I watch Destinee go every 2 minutes. So.
I like that.
Destinee, are you the water champion of the safety team? You're the one that's always pounding the water chunks?
Oh yeah, I drink a gallon of water a day. I don't mess around with my water. I'm always like, are you hydrated? Are you drinking enough water? No. Shelly, you drinking enough water? No. Go get you some.
Okay.
I can tell, Marcus, I can tell you my experience with heat stroke, not heat stroke, but heat exhaustion. I went to a NASCAR race in Indianapolis the first weekend in August, and I don't believe there's a hotter place but the sun on that particular week when you're at the racetrack. All that concrete, the seats that I had were right next to the opening for Gasoline Alley. And I watched those paramedics making just continuous loops with their little cart, scooping people off the ground, bringing them back. So definitely, it's a real thing, just make sure you're getting plenty of water, make sure, you're doing everything you can to
stay out of
preserve
the sun
yourself.
as much as possible. Wear lighter clothes, not darker clothes. Use AC. If you got it, use it. You just don't want to get overly hot and it'll hit you. Hypothermia is another thing that can actually happen in summertime because you sweat so much. And then you go out in the evening and you're just sitting around in a cold, all of a sudden you can go into hypothermia because you got too hot during the day. So there's another aspect of things to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Denny, do you have any thoughts on the kind of the hydration stuff? One interesting aspect to me to ask a driver or former driver is you want to stay hydrated enough, but as Cynthee said, you're going to be hitting the bathroom more. How do you balance that? Because obviously you don't want to be stopping every 15 minutes, but you need to drink enough to stay hydrated, which is going to force you to stop, right?
I never had a problem with that. I'll preface this by saying I drink water all day long. I may have a Coke or some tea or something with my meal later in the day after I stop, but all day long from morning till I would stop for the day, it's nothing but water. Saying that, and I'm probably going to get a stink eye from her, but I wouldn't stop until the middle of my drive. I would leave and I would drive for 4 or 5 hours and then I would stop. But I never had a problem. I'm also, I've got that history of a marathoner, so I know how to hydrate. And I just learned how to hold it, I guess. That's probably a thing from the Marine Corps, because if you had to make what they called an emergency head call, it created a scene. You had to sit on your foot locker, put a hard hat on, go woo, 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 scoot that thing around the squad base. So I guess I learned how to hold it back then. I don't know, but that was my day. I would cruise for about 4 hours roughly, and then I would stop, take my 30-minute break, and then drive another 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
But I never had a problem with that.
Well, that's good.
It's like when I go run today, I go out and run/walk. It's more run than walk, but I do a little over 5 miles, and I drink before I leave. I don't take water with me. I drink when I stop. But I've been doing it for years. I did it in the heat of Florida. That was when I was doing marathons. I lived in Florida. I'd be out. People would be looking at me, shaking their head, going, you lost your freaking mind. Because it would be over 100% humidity, I think. I mean, I'm out there in the heat of the day. That's when I ran, because I did the morning show on radio. So I'd go out and I'd be running around noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And people are looking at me like I'm nuts. But I was acclimated to it, and I did it. And I never had an issue.
Yeah, and that acclimation's a big part of it. Obviously, if you're properly hydrated all the way through your day, going back through the week, it's not going to be as much of a thing. I think it's those peaks and valleys that you think about where you start to be a little dehydrated. You take on a ton of water, then you're going to be hitting the bathroom for a while until you're dehydrated again. So keep it, that the advice there, I think I'm finding, Denny, from what you said, is just keep it normal. Like, just stay hydrated all the time. Do it when you're at home. Do it in the morning before you get up and you're on your way to, driving your route that day. Great stuff.
I don't know if it's the same way with music festivals, but I remember one outside of Washington, D.C. It was an all-day thing. It was heat of the summer. And just like you said, people were passing out. The little ambulance cart was going around. It was because beer was $2.50. Water was $4.
Yep.
I'm like, beer? Water? They're drinking beer.
Yeah. Barley water, as we like to call it in that situation. There's another thing on here, and Shelly, I'm going to go to you for this one because I don't know if you're the one that actually brought this up, but we haven't heard from you yet, and this is pack sunscreen and sunglasses. I am a huge sunglasses kid. You guys, I mean, when I met you all at H&M, I had sunglasses on my hat in the middle of winter in Omaha. I have very sensitive eyes. Going outside after I've sat in a dark studio for a while to just a normal 70-degree day with partly cloudy, I'll be squinting for a couple of minutes before my eyes really adjust. How important is it to have some sunglasses just in case you're driving straight into the sun, Shelly?
It's very important to have sunglasses on so that you can see what's around you. even your visor down just a little bit where it's not in the way so you can see. So you're not hitting another vehicle in front of you or hitting another truck or anything like that. Or even pedestrians on the side of the road or,
Yep.
if a car's pulled off.
That's kind of where I was thinking it too, is that, visors are great, but they also have a certain degree of obstructing your view if you are hanging it down low enough. And sunglasses, if you get a good pair, you get really good visibility, will help you keep an eye out for those kids running around now that school's out. Bicycles, motorcycles is another thing. You think of a motorcycle as a big shiny thing, but man, sometimes they're hard to see out there when everybody's whipping around in traffic, and having the sun prevent you from being able to see them is not something we want. And sunscreen is the other thing there, Shelly. I have a ton of skin cancer in my family, just full disclosure, and I get made fun of by my friends for the amount of sunscreen that I put on, but I am adamant about it. Like, it's truck drivers actually have a higher rate of skin cancer on their left arms, from what I understand, because of driving with their arm on the window or out the window.
Right.
Yeah, do a Google search sometime, and there's tons of pictures out there of the effects on senior truck drivers that have been driving for years, how their left side of their face is different than the right side of their face because of that constant being beat on by the sun. It's a real thing, and it's quite shocking when you look at just random pictures in Google showing the effects of the sun.
Denny, how did the sun affect you? Yeah.
I didn't have that much trouble with it, but brings to mind, if there is statistically that much of a risk, then how expensive would it be for H&M to put a tent on those windows, the side windows? At least the driver's
I think there
side,
might
to
be
keep
some
that sun
safety
from coming in.
concerns. I think there might be some safety concerns in some area based on the level of tent. But I think the biggest thing, I like, Denny, you're getting to it, is maybe it's not necessarily making it darker, but getting rid of the UV. And I think you can get window clings and different things that'll reduce the amount of UVs that pass through the glass. That might be something to look into for the future.
Yeah.
But you also have to be careful with that, because DOT, if you have too much of tint on there, they're going to write you up for it and have you remove it. I've seen where drivers buy trucks and get that stuff put on there, and then they have to remove it because they got a roadside inspection and it was too dark for the officer to see in the vehicles. And that's another thing that exactly.
Yeah, some states are stricter on it than others. I know Louisiana will make you take it off.
Yep. And
too dark. If they can't see in, then it's got to go.
I had tinted windows as a kid in my car, and the laws were different in Idaho than they were in Oregon. And I spent a lot of time over in Lewiston, Idaho at the Snake River, and I always saw these cool cars with totally blacked out windows. And I would ask them, how do you get away with that? And they're like, well, we don't have the same laws that you guys do in Oregon. And in Oregon, they would come up with an actual little piece of technology and put it on your windshield. And it shows how much light passes through. And that's the state law, is kind of where it's set on, like, the percentage of light that gets through. And they'll write you a ticket for it right there. And I'm sure with trucks, I don't know if there's an out of service that might happen with that. It depends, I'm sure, on how hard that stuff is to get off your windows. If you can get it off right there, they're probably okay with it. But yeah, so what Dean said, I think is a good point. There are some window clings out there that are clear for the most part that will at least fight the UV rays. So, okay, let's move on to something, a little bit more nuts and bolts, if you will, when it comes to driving. And this is the tourist drivers and I guess basically just the summer traffic that's coming along here. Destinee, I want to turn to you here as the claims specialist. I wonder, do you see more claims that involve four-wheelers coming out in the summer or the winter?
So it's really both times of year. In the summer, I notice a lot more claims with flatbed trailers, a pickup haul and a flatbed trailer, or a camper, or, hauling a boat, stuff like that. And the biggest thing too is there's a lot of states out there that if one of those drivers aren't paying attention and they hit your truck. I had one not that long ago where a guy hauling a camper smacked the side, ripped the door mirror clean off. And we called the police out. There was nothing they could do because on most of those, in some states, it's not required to plate those RVs and trailers. So we got stuck with that, and I got a guy who now doesn't have a driver's side door mirror and he can't see where he's going. And that's another problem. So it's with the summer, I would say it's mostly, people traveling with campers, boats, stuff like that. Majorly RVs though, because those things, I swear, those things should be regulated a lot better, because you should have to have a special license to be able to drive one of those.
Yeah.
Because yeah, exactly. And if you're used to driving a regular, pickup truck or car, and you're not used to pulling something that big, you're not going to be able to manage it like you normally can.
Sure.
And they forget. They totally forget that they've got that thing behind them, and they'll cut you off. I don't know how many times I've almost lost my front fender because somebody with a camper or a boat, that's what I assume. You could actually watch them in your rearview mirror. And drivers, I know you see this. You keep an eye on them. You see this guy's driving aggressively. He's cutting in and out of lanes. You just give him plenty of room. That's the best defense you've got for that. But you've got to watch out for them because they forget about that crap behind them. And there are some of them you see out west dragging. They'll have a pickup truck with a fifth wheel behind it and then a boat attached to them. It's like they got their little mini train going down the interstate.
Yeah, those states that allow a double trailer like that, I'm fortunate here. Oregon does not allow that, because I have been down in California and seen that before and thought, with all the red tape you guys have, how is it that this is legal? It seems like something that requires a lot of skill to do. I hear about truck drivers pulling tandems. That's got to be a little bit different than pulling just one trailer, Denny, I would assume. So same thing applies to somebody towing a 40-foot trailer with a 20-foot ski boat behind it.
They don't call them wiggle wagons for nothing.
Well, you take a look. If a driver wants to pull double trailers or triple trailers, they have to have a special endorsement on their license.
Right.
But I guarantee the guy that lives across the street from me that pulls his boat and his trailer to the weekends, he doesn't have a special license. He's got the same license I do.
And he probably doesn't deserve that one. Let's be honest. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this podcast. Sorry, Dean's neighbor.
Hey, Marcus.
Yes.
Another thing that we need to really watch out, because we had an incident with a motorcycle actually turning into one of our trailers, is those motorcycles during the summertime weaving in and out, speeding up and being in the driver's blind spot on the back of the trailer where the drivers can't see.
Absolutely. They love to get right up on people too. I've noticed it with motorcyclers, and I don't know if it might be a thing that they do. I've always felt like they try to get in your mirror so that you can see them if you look in your rearview mirror as a four-wheeler. But I imagine with all the blind spots that come along with a semi-truck that they might think you can see them when they're right up on you like that, but they can disappear almost anywhere around a semi. Exactly. Denny, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, and we've got multiple events just in the next couple of weeks, biker events. And I would say that on the one hand, all these super bikers that want to trailer their bikes to the event, I never did that. I always rode mine. But anyway, they're in a hurry to get there. And then after they party for X number of days and they stay up late and get up early, they're exhausted when they leave. I got caught in the mass exodus from Sturgis one year coming across, and it was like rush hour traffic all the way down the interstate. I mean, for like 200-300 miles, it was backed up with all these campers and trailers. And like I said, they're exhausted after all these days of partying. They're probably dehydrated from all the alcohol they've had. So again, just be aware of this, because they're not used to dragging those trailers all the time.
Yeah, and we can almost guarantee that it's Sturgis beer is cheaper than water as well. So just know that they're going to be drinking it. They're going to be drinking it a lot. And I think that one of the things that you can kind of take as like a common theme throughout this entire conversation that you also have written down here, Dean, is plan to be patient. You're going to deal with this stuff during the summer. You don't really have a choice. The weather's nice. we've all been sitting in the crap weather and dodging tornadoes and trying to not slip on the ice for God knows how many months. I want to get outside. I'm over it. I'm sick of sitting inside, and everybody else is just like me. So as a driver, Dean, can you talk about the aspect of just the patience that has to come along with this to make sure that you can stay safe out there on the road while you're driving through all this chaos?
It's just more the basics, just like we've talked about, plan that cushion because you're going to hit traffic. We want to make sure that we prioritize safety, getting there rather than getting there fast. Sometimes getting there fast will bite us all in the butt. I don't have a whole lot more to say about that, and just, plan yourself out some extra time and take advantage of it. Because everybody's in a hurry, and that's when accidents happen.
Absolutely. That's when you lose your mirror to a guy towing an Airstream down the interstate, yep. Right? Well, we're running a little bit short on time here, guys. I want to get you back in. I know you've carved out time for me right in the middle of your day here, and really appreciate it. But it's lunchtime, and so I know you guys are probably going to be heading off to eat lunch here before too long. But before we go, I want to make sure that we've covered everything that you think needs to be covered. And I'll give you each a chance to say your piece before we go out. But from all of you right now collectively, is there anything else that we need to cover before this episode runs out of time, Dean?
I don't know that we do have any more topics at this point. Myself, I think maybe thinking about the equipment that you're running. I mentioned tires earlier, but when you get out west, you start to get in some really hilly areas. Maybe back off the speed a little bit. When it's hot, 100+ degrees out there, you shouldn't be pushing that truck too hard, because hoses and belts and those things all tend to have a short lifespan when they get into extreme temperatures. So, keep an eye on the truck's thermostat. Make sure you're taking care of the truck so it takes care of you. I can't think of a worse place to be than on the shoulder in the middle of Nevada, Montana, Wyoming this time of year with limited or no resources. So, take care of your equipment so it takes care of you.
Sage advice there. Denny, was there anything that changed between the summer and the winter as far as what you brought along with you and like preparedness? I mean, obviously, you hear in the winter, hey, get some kitty litter. That's obviously not very important in the summer. Is there anything like that about the summer that you would take with you that you maybe didn't have on in the winter?
Well, I always kept plenty of supplies on. Water was one thing. I usually had at least 2 cases of water on the truck. Like Dean said, keep an eye on your equipment, make sure that your coolant level's right, especially if you're like climbing that pole outside of Needles, California. It's 119 degrees outside. Turn the AC off about halfway up. It's going to get hot. I guarantee you. You roll down the window, it's like somebody sticking a hairdryer in your face, but you will make it to the top of the hill. Another thing I will point out, talking about all this travel, and you're going to see a lot of campers and trailers and boats and stuff, and they tend to slow down a lot in construction zones. It's very frustrating when you're out west, northwest, and the speed limit through a construction zone is 65 miles an hour, but you got some guy that won't do but 35 or 40. The best defense I could say for that is plan your route, know where those construction zones are, and hit that dude about 5 o'clock in the morning before they get up and have their coffee and their 3 eggs and stuff. If you can get through it before they hit it, then you've solved the problem for yourself. And I guess I'm not a real patient person, so I found kind of hacks.
Yeah, right. Well, I just am glad that I'm not a coffee and 3 eggs person, because I don't want any cross looks from Denny here across the way. Cynthee, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Your first appearance here. I want to open up the floor to you. If there's anything else safety related that you want to bring up, please do. But also, if you have a message for the drivers that might be listening, any other staff members at H&M, or any family and friends that might check out the podcast, the floor is yours. Take your time.
Well, like everybody else has said, just take your time, stay cool, be patient. As for anybody watching, stay safe. Glad to be a part of everybody here at H&M. I've got some really close friends since then. I love our safety group. We have this really warped sense of humor. We just can't share it on here.
We'll get to enjoy it once the mics are off. That's what I'll say. But,
So I am very, very happy to be here, and thanks for having me on. I hope we get to do it again.
Oh, of course. We absolutely will. Shelly, it's your turn.
Well, just make sure you keep your eyes on the road. I'm heading down to New Orleans next week, so
nobody likes a bragger. I already told you that.
So make sure you guys be vigilant as you remember there's a safety person driving next to you down the road.
Yeah, there you go. I like Shelly's advice. I'm headed to New Orleans, so anybody between Omaha and New Orleans, keep your shit together, please. I would like to go on my vacation. Thank you, Shelly.
The cops on you.
Literally, I've done that to one of our drivers when I was driving out to Dubuque, Iowa. I came up on him. He was going a little bit faster than what he was supposed to be going, and I couldn't pass him. So I got on my phone and I called him and I said, "Hey, what you doing?" He was driving. I said, "I know. I'm right next to you. I'm trying to pass you on your left, and you're going a little fast. You want to slow down?" He goes, "Oh shit."
Those events are always fun when, as a safety person, or even when you work at a trucking company, when you come across one of our trucks on the road, just reach out to them and just share a quick little story or just a friendly hello. It kind of sends a message like, "Hey, we're always here. You know, we're all in this together."
We are always watching.
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it too. It's like, hey, we're always here.
If that Big Brother was bad, you've never seen H&M safety.
Yeah. I have a sneaking feeling, Destinee, that driver left a little crease in his seat when he learned that you were right next to him. I know there would have been one in mine if I got that call. Destinee, I want to give you a chance to. Anything else that you want to cover? Anything that you might want to say?
Yeah, I mean, really just make sure you're being very cautious about your surroundings. When those, four-wheelers that are hauling, trailers, campers, give them space, be very defensive because, I mean, they don't care. They're not really paying attention. For all you know, they're probably playing on their phone, So just be really cautious around those guys on the road. Stay hydrated. If you're getting too hot and you're getting worn down, take a second to cool off, Things like that is just the main priority with it. So
sure. And our main priority here is getting everybody home safe. Not only our drivers, but everybody out there on the road around you. Nobody wants to get that phone call that whoever they're expecting isn't showing up because of an accident. So keep safety right at the forefront of your mind as summer creeps in and all the wackos get to go out and drink beer that's cheaper than water. I am green with envy. Thank you to the safety department so much for coming on here. Safety manager Dean Edmunds, safety specialists Shelly Bridger and Cynthee Crawford, and of course claims specialist Destinee Andrews. We really appreciate your time here on the H&M Trucking Podcast. We'll talk to you all soon, okay?
Hey, Marcus, one thing before we go, those drivers that got pets in the vehicles with them, when you're getting hot, they're getting hot. Don't forget about your little buddy. Don't forget about your co-pilot. Make sure they get plenty of water as well.
Good point. I know Gilly's hanging out right at Denny's feet right now. So great point, because we already got to see him.
Gilly grew up on the truck. He prefers to drink out of a cup holder because I'd keep a cup of water. That's where he drank. He didn't even have a bowl when he was little. And I want to give Dean a hard time.
Okay.
I've got to before we get out of here. If he thinks Omaha to Kansas City is a long trip, he's not a truck driver.
You got to remember, I was when I was a young kid going on family vacations.
Yeah,
I just made a Omaha to Houston trip in one day, and that was enough for me. I don't think I could handle much more than that on a regular basis.
Well, Oklahoma City all the way to San Antonio is, oh God. Well, anyway, I wouldn't wish I-35 or I-45 on anybody. I avoid it at all costs. It's just too much.
There you go.
Too much construction.
Yep, too much. All right, everybody. Thank you again. Really appreciate you all being here. Drivers, stay safe out there. It's our biggest priority on this podcast. We really want to drive that point home. So thanks to the safety team. We'll get you back in here soon, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time again for us to share some recipes, some tips, some good restaurants still out there. It's Eating on the Road, Bill's Big Rig Cafe. Hey drivers, welcome to the Big Rig Cafe again. This is one of the easiest things we're ever going to make. And the cool thing is you can keep these ingredients on the truck all the time, so you don't have to make a special run to Walmart or something. You need a can of chili, with or without beans, whichever brand you like, just get you a can of chili. 1 tub of Easy Mac. You can get the Kraft brand or the Walmart brand, or I think Belvita makes a brand. Put about half of that can of chili in the bowl, then you got a storage container for the other half. You can save that for something else later on. And you just, like I said, it's easy. Just tear the lid off. The instructions are on the side. Take your bottle of water, fill it up to the line. Then you nuke this for, depending on your microwave, it says 3.5 minutes. So you may have to go a little longer than that, but stick that dude in the microwave and, like I say, 3.5 minutes. Hey, by the way, while we're waiting on that, let me tell you about a couple of other great places to eat. Somebody mentioned the Thompsontown, picking up in T-Town, and it reminded me of one of Bill's favorite restaurants of all time. He always stopped in at the Thompsontown Corner Deli right there. Now, it's a little bitty place, but there's a wide shoulder on both sides of the road, and for you dog owners out there, there's a nice little park right there at that corner too, with a nice walking trail. So you can get the pup out, walk around a little bit, get you something to eat. They've got a great breakfast, great lunch, and it's not terribly expensive. That's in Thompsontown, PA, just off of US 22, 333 in Thompsontown. Okay, now we got the mac and cheese. Let's throw that half a can of chili, bowl of chili in the microwave for maybe like a minute, probably minute and a half, something like that. Heat that up. All right, now we can get back to this. Most of the water is going to be absorbed. There's going to be a little bit in there still, but that's okay. Dump that packet of cheese mix and whatever other crap they put in there and stir that dude up good. Probably not healthy for you, but tastes good, and it's easy. That's the cool thing. It's easy, and there's virtually no mess. You throw the can out, you throw the bowl out, wipe your spoon unless you're using disposable stuff. Like I said, this is one of the easiest recipes you're ever going to hear me talk about. But sometimes you need something easy, and sometimes you haven't had a chance to restock and get to the store. So these are things you can keep on hand, and then you save the rest of that can of chili. That later on, man, that'll be great on like a plate of nachos, or you can make another batch of this, or you can just heat up that other half a can of chili. You know, there's any number of options you can use that for, but it won't go to waste, right? Wrap it up in a tortilla, make you a chili burrito. Boy, that ought to clean you out, right? Okay, that bowl of chili ought to be just about ready. We can stir this stuff up and have dinner here in just a second. How about another restaurant, real quick? King's Truck Stop. That's in Fort Bear, Louisiana. It's on Highway 190. Great Creole and seafood. King's Truck Stop, Highway 190, Point Bear, Louisiana. Okay, we're just about done. Pour that Easy Mac in there, or whatever brand you bought, and then stir that chili up. Just mix it up good. I should have put some jalapenos in there. That would have been good, wouldn't it? I think I got a little more chili than mac and cheese, but oh well. This ain't rocket science. It's just something to fill your tummy on the truck. A little salt and pepper. Might grab some crackers, or I like it with tortilla chips. Fritos are always good with this. But, you know, whatever you like, or maybe that's all you want right there. There it is. Chili Mac on Bill's Big Rig Cafe. Enjoy, truckers. We'll catch you next time. Man, I sure would love to hear from y'all. If you know a restaurant out there that you've eaten at that's really good, let's share it. Or maybe a recipe or a trick you've got or a tip. Hey, contact me. Reach out at denny@bulldog.works. That's denny@bulldog.works. We'll catch you next time on Bill's Big Rig Cafe.
I can barely contain my excitement for this next segment, and we're just going to jump right into it because I'm so excited. I have Shelly Vogler, who many of you know for me mentioning on the podcast. She's one of the ones that you have to go and yell "Stay Fresh" cheese bags at if you want this cool gift that we've got for you. Shelly has been instrumental in the podcast being what it is today. She helps us every single week behind the scenes, and thank you very much for being here. Yet again, Shelly, we so much appreciate the time.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of course. And now Shelly's from the recruiting department. This segment is going to focus on the recruiting department. So we've also brought in another person from the recruiting department. Her name is Michaela. And the reason I'm not going for her last name yet is because she wants to know if I can pronounce it, which you can tell maybe, Michaela, you've been listening to the podcast because occasionally I have trouble with these sorts of things. So before I try to pronounce your last name, Michaela, thank you for being here first and foremost.
Absolutely. I'm pumped to come on. I've been waiting for you guys to ask me to come on, but I always get left out of everything. So sounds about right.
That stops today, okay? Because you brought me something for the podcast right off the bat. We're like, let's test you, idiot. Let's see if you can do it. I love that. How much chance would you give me? Is it 50-50? Is it either a yes or no? Or are you kind of looking at it as like, it's only a 10% chance that this idiot's going to get it right?
Well, you seem kind of invested. So I'm going to give you a little more benefit that you might be able to do it. I don't know. You are from the West, live on the West Coast, right?
Yes.
So I would think that maybe you might have a little more, I'd say 20% chance.
20%. See,
yeah.
You might cut that down to 15 when I tell you the only class I ever got caught cheating in was Spanish when I was in high school. So I I think you're giving me too much credit, but I'm going to try it, okay? Let me spell it first. Monjaraz. I seem to remember from my Spanish learnings that J's are a bit different. Now, I'm going to go with Monjaraz.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good, but is that right?
That's pretty good. No, I mean, Monjaraz is how I say it.
Monjaraz. Okay, so I was overcomplicating it. I was trying to fit in. Yeah, I get it.
You made it sound royal. Yep. Fun fact, my family all spells it with an easy, and they pronounce it Monjaraz. And then my dad changed it to AZ, and we're the only ones that pronounce it Monjaraz. So my actual relatives are my relatives, but we all spell our names different. It's very complicated. I don't know.
That's interesting because the J is either the J sound or the H sound. That's kind of what I was trying to like all the learning of Spanish that I did, which was so little. I was trying to there's something up with that J, and I know there's something up with that J. And I always try to roll my R's too, because I had somebody tell me if you can roll your R's and somebody's name requires you to do that, it's kind of seen as like a sign of respect that you try to actually roll that R. Is that true?
Well, you should know about me. I'm a very white Mexican. So anything that you just tried is great. People will laugh at me because they'll be like, you don't speak Spanish. I grew up here in South Omaha and I should speak Spanish, but I don't. So you did great. I'm proud of you. So you probably speak more Spanish than I do. And fun fact, I did actually cheat off my white friend in Spanish class. And I had my Spanish-English translator in there in class. So,
well, if I can tell you anything about us white people are good at cheating in Spanish class. Yeah. I was doing great until the final week, and then I got busted, and it all fell apart. But you know what? That's why I got into speaking English for a living. I knew I didn't have a chance over there on the other side of the aisle. So, well, listen, it's great to have you both here. And before I jump into some fun things that we have planned for you today, I just want to kind of talk about how things are going in the recruiting department. You know, Shelly, you come on, or you email me every single week with a whole bevy of new drivers. You guys are constantly moving through new H&M employees and trying to get them, vetted, make sure they're good to go for H&M Trucking. What would you say the state of the union is in the recruiting department right now, Shelly?
I mean, I think that we're doing really well. I think as of today, we have maybe 3 trucks available. So we're keeping them pretty full. We do have a little bit of turnover, but it's not very much. Again, I have been seeing the comments coming out again about how we have lowered our standards and we are not hiring the same quality of drivers. I just want to reiterate, you guys, the qualifications have not changed for 5 years. So, just keep that in mind. I mean, it's what you were qualified with is what we're still qualifying with. And we have some really great drivers that are staying, but every now and then you are going to get one that's not the best. And, it is what it is, but we definitely strive to keep it, Class A drivers, grade 8.
Yeah, and we can never know that. We're always trying to bring on people that we feel fit the culture of H&M, that we actually love to talk to. When we recruit, we have these big conversations. We love talking to people and we love interacting. And so those are the type of people we want to bring on, people we have a good feeling about, people we know that are going to fit, like I said, the culture. And, sometimes it doesn't work out, but a lot of things in life don't work out. So, Absolutely. We are trying to be more selective because we do have a limited amount of trucks. So, just know that as well. We're not just going to bring people on just to bring people on because we're not in that situation.
Right. And I might test you and say something weird and see if you laugh. And then if you do, you pass the test. There you go.
Yep. This is my second test in this podcast interview already. I don't think I've had 2 total in 60 some episodes at this point. So hit me. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that, it kind of, you have one bad apple and everybody sees it and it's like, oh my gosh, they're just hiring whoever. That's not the case. It is something that we really take pride in and something that we really pay attention to when we're hiring those drivers.
And we want to be excited about who we bring in. That's my favorite part about orientation is I get so excited to see the people that I bring on. And I want to come to orientation on Monday and want to go talk to them and be like, hey, how's it going? How's your family? Talk about something that they told me about their family or something that is special to them. And I just feel like that's what sets us apart. And a lot of people in orientation say that is what sets us apart because we do remember those things and we are just very down to earth and easy to talk to.
It's very true. And let this podcast segment be an example of that because it's been long overdue that we've got the recruiting department in here to talk to you guys. And this is part of why I wanted to bring you on is we've already laughed a bunch. We're messing around with each other. You guys are a fun-loving bunch. You take your jobs very seriously. You do a great job at your jobs. But at the same time, I've known this about Sherry since I first met her. She likes to laugh, and we like to laugh together. And Sherry, you both actually, after being here with you just for a few minutes, Michaela, you both have kind of this infectious laughter where it's like, if you guys are laughing, it's really hard not to get caught up in that kind of cartoon swarm of knees and elbows that just sweeps through the room. And that takes pressure off of people. I see that in my job too. A lot of times when I'm having a tough interview, I'll think, man, if I can just get this person laughing, if I can just get them to loosen up just a little bit, and so you guys do a lot the same with that. You probably get to know them a little bit, get them laughing, get them comfortable, get them relaxed. Everybody's so tense when it comes to a new job, right? You don't want to do one thing wrong, one misstep. Everybody wants to look perfect. Hey, we're all just people out here. Let's look at this podcast again as an example. I am fumbling through on the best of days, but we're getting it done, right? And it's working. So I think that's a really cool aspect of the job. Now, one of the things that this is going to surprise you guys, I think, a little bit, because I didn't tell you that I was going to bring this up, but why not? We're having fun today. I'm so excited about that. I'm sorry. We have been asking you guys for a few different things. We're putting together a podcast website that will soon be available at hmtrucking.com, where you can go and learn about the podcast, learn about the episodes, the people on the podcast. And recently, our web and design team asked for some headshots of you guys so that they could put a picture up on the website. And we got some headshots from some people all was well. And then, Michaela, yours came through, and I'm confused. Did they ask you to do some headshots for Tinder, or was this something that... Because there was roses involved. It was set up like it was staged. You were doing poses. I mean, I got a kick out of this. I was laughing until the back of my neck hurt. But
I actually didn't even realize that you were getting those pictures until just right now.
Yeah,
I didn't know we got those pictures. I thought you Jackson.
I'm insidious, though. If Jackson's got something like that, I'll get my hands on it, just so you guys know.
I mean, you should have been here. She was posing, I was directing. It was a great time.
Yeah, I think it was the 5 years of being on the dating apps. I think I'm probably pretty good at taking a selfie here or there. And, I'm very goofy. I love taking pictures, and if I can just laugh at my own expense, I'm okay. And if other people can laugh at me, I'm cool with that. I don't care.
Okay, good. Well, I told him, look, these are great pictures. I love the feel of these pictures, but we can't put her email address up there because people are going to start sending her like, oh, hey there. This looks like a dating profile pic. So I figured I'd tell you, I'm 5'9", 210,
I'm just a team player. Whatever we need to get this going, I'm down.
$5, I'll send you more.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love that we've got the director and the star here, too. So it's like you guys can both kind of share. Sherry, what were you looking for in the aesthetic of that photo shoot? What were we going for from a director's standpoint?
I really don't know. I mean, we saw your picture and I wasn't sure where you were pointing.
Yeah.
So we were trying to decide where to point.
I said, asking for a friend. I'm not sure where he's pointing, but I'm going to go along with it.
So we tried to point in different places. Jackson sends over here.
Anywhere but right down the middle. I think that's our only rule. And it's a good time to kind of talk about that photo shoot. There are some, 2,000-3,000 pictures that were taken of me in that 4 to 5 hour span of time when Grant and I went to Lincoln, Nebraska. All sorts of outfit changes. They've got me in Tim Kruger's tracksuit. It's like white and gold with Chinese tigers all over it. And you guys, one thing I didn't understand is how good the people that work in the background of this podcast actually are. They've taken just faces from those 7,000 some odd pictures, and they have put me in some of the most precarious positions that you can imagine. Some of them end up on the internet and will live there forever. So I'll be honest with you, Michaela, I didn't know where I was pointing either. I don't even know that that's my hand. But we're kindred spirits at this point in time because those are the people that have your pictures as well. You're just advantaged because there wasn't a green screen behind you, so they can't do as much. But trust me, they are a talented group of individuals, and they've had me in, there was one picture I saw for a different podcast we do where, you remember the judge wigs that they used to wear when everybody had chlamydia in the 1800s? They put me in a black judge's robe and one of those wigs, and it looks like that's how they took the picture of me. Never seen anything like it. So we'll get some of those pictures up too. Everybody that's listening will be able to enjoy at my expense.
I said full send on that.
Okay.
I told her she needs to make, so there's this face that she makes all the time.
Oh no.
I told her to make just one. So it could be 3 nice pictures and then her rat face.
So basically it's like my hood up and then my teeth are up and I look like basically I make that face all the time and I don't know I'm doing it.
Well, that's great. I think that if we could get one of those, in fact, video crew, since you're watching this in editing, go ahead and freeze frame that little face that Michaela just did.
Yes, please do.
Oh man. All right. So, we'll get those pictures up so everybody can take a look at them. You'll hear it first on this podcast. You'll definitely hear me tell you where you can go check them out. But I got to do something else here now that I've gotten. You guys were prepared for this one. This is not coming out of nowhere, but one of my favorite games to play with people when we're trying to break the ice, get to know them a little bit, is 2 truths and a lie. And of course, we don't really need to break the ice with Sherry. Michaela, I'm so comfortable with you already. We don't even need to break the ice with you, but you guys are prepared for this game, so we might as well play it because it's a real interesting way to learn about people. And for those of you that have never played it before and are listening, each one of us has come up with 2 true things about us and 1 lie. The point of this is kind of to be deceptive, to try to pull people in different directions because we're all going to try to guess what each other's lie are after we go through everything. So my question is, do one of you guys want to start, or would you like me to start with my 2 truths and a lie, and you guys can pick apart my stuff before we get to you? Totally up to you.
I'll start.
There you go. See, I knew it. Sherry's a team player. All right.
I am.
Hit us with your 2 truths and a lie.
Okay. When I first started writing, I originally started writing with my left hand, not my right hand. I play piano, and I can make the best monkey sound you ever heard.
God, I hope number 3 is not the lie, because then she's going to have to make the sound for us, right? She's holding a poker face too. I'm trying. So, Michaela, I kind of have a feeling that you know which one of these is the lie. Do you know Sherry that well?
I know her pretty well, but these are kind of interesting ones. I'm pretty sure she plays the piano and she has really good fingers. I love your fingers. I know you luscious. But no, I feel like you probably could make a monkey sound. I'm kind of concerned of what it would sound like. But the whole left hand, right hand thing seemed a little too coached to be a lie.
Yeah. I don't know. See, I'm thinking about the left hand, right hand thing because it almost seems like that's a really hard lie to come up with.
Yeah.
You know, like who would even think to come up with that lie?
Yeah.
The monkey sound one is like, I'm pretty sure that we can settle on that one as a truth. I'm pretty sure that she's not going to lie about that either. And I mean, I'm just taking what you have to say about her hands.
Maybe it's the piano one.
You said she's got nice hands. All right. I'm going to make my guess and I'm going to lock it in right now in my head. Michaela, do you have your guess locked in?
Yep.
All right. I don't think she plays piano. What do you think, Michaela?
I think that she can't do a monkey sound.
Okay, because she looked at me like Alicia Keys listening to a high-pitched noise right there when I said she couldn't play piano. So I got to be honest, I think I'm wrong. Sherry, which one's the lie?
The lie is that I originally wrote left-handed.
Yeah, I knew it. See, I tried to go the complete opposite way just for fun.
That was deceptive, though. How long did you write with your left hand before you became like the rest of us?
I didn't write with my left hand. That's the lie.
Oh, that was the lie. I'm an idiot. God. I don't even know how to play my own damn game.
Jeez.
All right. So, Michaela, I think it's your turn now. Since Sherry started us off, it went well. I'm not confident in mine. Let's hear from you.
Okay. Let me see which ones I should start with. Okay. I love animals. I was on America's Funniest Home Videos when I was a kid. And I love karaoke.
You know, a person that loves karaoke is very serious about their love for karaoke. So I'm wondering, Sherry, if you don't have a little inside information for us on that one. Have you sang karaoke with Michaela before?
You got to figure that one out yourself. I can't help you.
Oh, you can't. Okay. All right. Well, what are you thinking right now? Because you do have a little inside information, I think. So where's your head go?
I don't know. That's tough. Honestly, I think she's lying about loving animals. I think she tolerates them, but I don't think she loves them.
Okay. All right. So you're going to go ahead and lock that in? You think she doesn't love animals?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
All right. I'm going to go with karaoke. You don't look to me like a karaoke lover. Like, I mean, I can see you singing it like every month or so, maybe go out once to, break into Cotton Eye Joe or whatever your favorite hit is. But I don't know, do you love karaoke or do you love animals?
I love karaoke. And I am not an animal lover.
Yes.
Really? I tolerate that. Yeah. I've just never been attached to animals ever in my life.
Okay. So let's
people are going to hate that, but I grew up with animals, but I've just never really, I had a dog that just passed last year. Only animal I've ever been attached to, but she was a very just small dog and basically did nothing. And that's why I loved her.
Okay. So do you get annoyed by any of the driver's dogs that come in from time to time, or you just kind of can tolerate it and once they're gone, okay, that's good?
I'm not always going to pet them. Like I said, I would never have a puppy for a dog. It's just too hyper. I don't like hyper dogs. I don't want anything to do with them. So if the dog's jumping all over me, I really don't want anything to do with it, to be completely honest. But
all right.
That's why I like little dogs that don't do anything.
Okay. All right. Well, it's time for me to quiz you guys a little bit. Can you figure out which one of these is a lie? Number 1, I am deathly allergic to walnuts. Number 2, I was a semi-professional wakeboard coach for 3 years of my life. Or number 3, I have shared the stage with Jim Gaffigan and Rodney Carrington. Listen to the silence. They're really thinking about this. That means I did good.
Can I phone a friend? Who are those people?
Jim Gaffigan and Rodney Carrington are very famous stand-up comedians.
Oh, okay.
Jim Gaffigan does the Hot Pockets. I don't know if you've ever heard the Hot Pockets joke about the song Hot Pockets. No? All right. Everybody else will know who those people are. Don't worry about it.
Okay, they are. Perfect.
So, talk to me out loud here a little bit. I was a semi-professional wakeboard coach. I've shared the stage with Jim Gaffigan and Rodney Carrington, or I'm deathly allergic to walnuts. Where's your mind go here?
I mean, you kind of give me bro vibes, but I don't know if that's necessarily you.
Sherry, you know me a bit.
I'm going to say you like nuts, so I'm going to say your lie is that you're definitely allergic to walnuts.
Okay. Michaela?
Yeah, I'm going to agree. You like nuts, too.
Is that the bro vibes that I'm giving you?
Yeah, that's the bro vibes.
Well, I thought I was going to be really good at my own game, but it turns out I lost it. You guys are both correct. I am not deathly allergic to walnuts. Yes, I was a semi-professional wakeboard coach just coming out of high school and college. And yeah, I've introduced Jim Gaffigan and Rodney Carrington both. I've met them both. Very, very cool people. And some of the most terrified that I've ever been to get on stage in front of people was at these 2 sold-out shows where I was responsible for introducing them. So it was... I don't know, with the bro vibes thing. I got to go back to the bro vibes. Which one of those? Is it the wakeboard thing?
The flat bill hat and just, yeah.
And no, the beard.
I lived in California for 3 years, so I can kind of feel, I get it.
Okay. So it's like, the reason I asked is because I don't know if bro vibes is like a positively connotated thing or a negatively connotated thing.
Oh, it depends.
That sounds negative to me.
It depends on the person.
Okay. Yeah, you're actually not that bro-y. Besides the snapback, like I don't get any douche vibes from you, which is a good thing. Good. You don't have to put money into douche jar.
You also didn't get any like the nerdy kid at school vibes from me because I'm obviously not allergic to nuts, right? So we've established that.
Yeah.
All right, last thing I've got for you. And by the way, I'm having an absolute blast. This segment could go on for 3 hours if I had anything to do with it. So thank you. But have you guys ever played the game Mad Gab before?
I think like years ago.
Mad Gab is a game where, I'm going to give you some words here, and then you're going to form a phrase. They are not the phrase. These words do not make the phrase. They will sound like the phrase. So your guys' job here is to read these words out loud and try to tell me what the phrase is that I'm trying to convey to you, okay? So, for instance, I have a tester here.
We're going to need one.
So the words would be, in fact, here, I'm going to type them in the chat real quick so you guys can read them along with me, and we'll do a little bit of a test
That's
one
helpful.
Here. Okay. So I have the answer to this one, so it's obviously not, this isn't going to work for me, but those words right there, it says nose, ring, sat, hatched. So the idea is to read those words kind of all together and see what I'm saying by saying nose, ring, sat, hatched. So read it a little bit fast is a way. Nose, ring, sat, hatched.
No.
You're on the right track. No strings sat
attached. No strings attached.
Yeah, there you go. You got it. See, look at that. It's easy.
My favorite.
I've got 3 more of them for you.
That's valid.
That was by far the easiest one, but I'm going to go with another easy one for you here. There we go.
ICP kit.
Yep. So we've got the words, just so those of you that are listening along, it is Ace P Ding T Kit. Say it fast, Sherry.
FTP ding.
18 ding T kit.
You might tell your drivers. You might tell your. That's close. That's close, but that's wrong. You might tell your drivers you really don't want to get one of these in your first year.
A speeding ticket.
You got it. A speeding ticket.
There we go.
Ace P Ding T Kit, right? It works.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
All right.
Okay. Here's another one. It is on your screen right now. And the words for those of you listening are ease, sung, gopher. Sound it out, Michaela. Let's hear it.
Sung gopher.
Sung gopher.
Sung gopher. Sung gopher.
That's why this game's so fun.
Can I get the origin of the word, please?
Yasendover.
Easungover.
See, the best part about it is I can hear you saying the correct thing. You just can't hear it yet, and that's why I love this game.
Eat on the sun, gopher.
It's like I say, it's an easy gopher.
Yeah. Eat gopher. Eat sun gopher.
All right, you might say this about me after I got back from like Las Vegas on a Sunday.
Hungover?
He's hungover?
You're on there you go. He's hungover.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get you guys to understand why sometimes this podcast goes the way that it does. He's hungover. And finally, my favorite one. This is my last one for you, and then I got to let you get back to work, even though, like I said, I'd keep you here all day if you had the time. The words are Dawn, Dutch, May, Bot. Dawn, Dutch, May, Bot.
Don't touch my butt. Don't touch my butt.
You got it. Don't touch my butt. Something I was actually going to say Eve might say this, if somebody was getting a little handsy with her from an HR standpoint and a personal standpoint. Don't touch my butt.
So Michaela would be like, ooh, touch it again.
I told you I already gave consent.
Michaela, Monjaraz,
yes.
Sherry Vogler, thank you both so much for being here. I want to give you a chance real quick to say anything to anyone that might be listening, whether it be fellow staff members, drivers out there from H&M, family members, anything like that. Sherry, we'll start with you. The floor is yours.
What always first? I just want to say, hi to everybody and just thank everybody for all the work they do. I know with the freight right now, it's not been easy, and we'll keep our head down, keep going, and just work together, and we'll make it fun. And listen to the podcast and stay fresh, cheese bags.
Yeah, you got to say that, and that's why you always go first, because even unrehearsed, flawless. Thank you so much, Michaela. Your turn. The floor is yours.
I just want to say that if anybody ever has anything that they need to talk about, that they can reach out to us at any time. Everybody always feels like they could, you can text us on our personal number, you can call us. I just want everybody to feel comfortable to come talk to us if they have anything that they need to talk about. We might not always be able to solve it, but we're just a sounding board. We can listen to you, we can try to solve the problem if we can, but I just want to let everyone know that we are there and we're always there to help and talk to them if they need someone.
Right. We're not just your recruiters, we're your driver advocates as well. So if you have an issue and it's not getting solved, we will help you work through it.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, let this podcast be an example of how easy you guys are to talk to and how willing you are to jump in and help drivers with whatever they're facing. I can't thank you both enough for coming in here and having a lot of fun with me today. This has been some of the most entertaining podcasting we've done here as of late, where we've kind of been, drilling the hard conversations here the last few weeks. And this has been a really nice, fun break to the monotony. So thank you both very much. I promise you it will not be as long between appearances as it was this time. We'll get you back in here very soon, okay?
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
There's a few rolling roadblocks you might want to watch out for. Ohio Bike Weeks is still going on in Sandusky through the 31st. The Americade Motorcycle Rallies in Lake George, New York, the 29th through the 31st. Railbird Music Festivals in Lexington, Kentucky on the 1st and 2nd. And NASCAR is in Madison, Illinois for the Enjoy Illinois 300 on the 2nd. Y'all be careful out there.
All right, H&M Trucking, that wraps up episode 60 of the H&M Trucking Podcast. I want to thank everybody that donated their time today, including Dean Edmunds, Cynthee Crawford, and Shelly Bridger. That's the safety department. And then I did have Sherry and Michaela out of recruiting as well. Also, my awesome co-host, Denny, hooking us up with all sorts of good content as well. Look, this podcast takes a village to raise, and I am the idiot in that village. So thank you to everybody that surrounds me, that comes on here and makes this podcast great. That goes out to the team behind the scenes, as well as everybody from H&M that's come on here and joined me, and Denny as well. Don't forget, again, I'm going to remind you about this a lot. You got to go into the terminal and say hi to Eve or Sherry and say, "Stay fresh, cheese bags," and they will hook you up with an awesome gift. It's going to tell them that you've been listening to the podcast. You can't just go up to them and say, "Hey, can I give them a gift?" And when they say, "What's the catchphrase?" and you go, that doesn't work. Okay? I'm telling you right now, Eve will send you back up river. I've heard that she's already done it because somebody didn't listen and they said, "Hey, just give me my thing." And she goes, "What's the catchphrase?" He didn't know. He got sent to the bricks. So all you got to do, stay fresh, cheese bags. It's really simple. I've said it now for like 60 episodes. Well, 59. Stay fresh, cheese bags. That makes it 60.
Thank you for listening to the H&M Trucking Podcast. Please leave a review, subscribe, and connect with Marcus over at the H&M Trucking social media channels. And if you're considering a job at H&M, find us at hmtrucking.com. Until next time, stay safe and ahead of the curve drivers.